I do think it's interesting that we have so many companies across so many different sorts in the world of technology coming together on this issue. Is it about the progeny of these companies that Intel, Andy Grove was, famously, that Sergey Brin, that we know so many companies came from immigrants, or is it about the way businesses are happening today?
I think it's about both, quite frankly. I think if you look at the history of some of the most famous tech companies, we just saw it, and of course there is a lot to look to in terms of the data historically. But even today in Silicon Valley, over 58% of the highly skilled workers here, are immigrants. So when you step back and look at our labor pool, right, the source of innovation, has been bred by openness and an open immigration policy that lets the best and brightest minds in the world flow easily into this country.
And the notion of non-comprehensive immigration reform, that is, which has been a Republican argument, right, which is more H-1B visas, we'll keep the people crossing the Mexican border illegally out. Let's let the people we want in. Let's let the people, Donald Trump has spoken in Trumpian ways about the people that are going to do good things and make us money. Let's let them in. Let's keep the other ones out.
Well, of course, I mean, it's easy to say that in theory, but in practice, these are very broad brush strokes, when in fact, there's very little data to suggest that U.S. terrorism has been founded by the companies and by the countries that are, whose people are being kept out. So I think if you were to say innovation comes from...
You're taking the argument that the 9/11 bombers were from other countries, like Saudi Arabia.
Right, but if you look at more recent terrorist acts, you can speak to people who've been actually born in the United States, right? And are homegrown terrorists.
Right.
So if you look at sort of solving terrorism on the one hand and a broad brush swath that says immigration, has to be stopped from these 7 countries, and by the way, innovation won't happen from anybody who comes from these 7 countries, I mean, it's fairly ludicrous to suggest that keeping these countries out will somehow keep America safe. The converse is not true, which is when you create broad policies that keep out innovation, right? And us from accepting the smartest and brightest people in the world who are willing to come and build companies here on which the entire U.S. economy will prosper, there's a large argument in favor and very little data to suggest that any of the people here are responsible for the recent acts of terrorism that we've seen.
John Doerr from Kleiner has been saying for at least 15 years we should staple a green card to every single degree coming out of Stanford because we want those people to start companies here, not take them back to China or wherever else they might have come from to get that education.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the ironies in all of this is Donald Trump talks about being pro-business and about making America great again. One of the ways to make the American economy great is to have great companies started here. Not in India, not in China, not in Canada, but if you want to have a great and robust U.S. economy, it starts with fostering innovation here, and that includes having an open immigration policy.
So let me ask you finally about H-1B visas. It's an important issue to Silicon Valley, or has been touted as such, but in practice the H-1B visa program has been a little more abusive is too strong, but there have been certain companies that have cobbled together lots of H-1B visa programs. Some people have complained that those people can't actually go around and find other jobs because their ability to live in this country is basically stapled to their ID card, where they can't leave and go somewhere else and pursue gainful employment elsewhere. I wonder if you look at that as a program that's necessary or it needs reform.
Well, I would say to you, the H-1B program is absolutely necessary, and I happen to be one of those immigrants who started my company based on the fact that I got here through an H-1B and converted through an EB-1, which is an extraordinary persons visa, and that allowed me to actually leave the company who bought me here and to go start my own company. And companies large and small. My company is much, much smaller than Google and benefits from H-1Bs. So I don't think it's a case where H-1Bs go disproportionately only to the large companies. I mean, let's put it this way. It allows you to find a way here. Once you're here, your means to be gainfully employed at large or small company is really a function of your resume and your ability to transfer the H-1B. And there are very proper and well-used procedures for doing that between companies. So I don't think it's the case where the H-1B is a red herring that's gobbled up only by large companies. I think you will find that in every Silicon Valley company, large and small, there is 1 or 2 H-1B beneficiaries to be found.